And thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a nice little lunch at your desk. Three bobbing heads. All right, everybody, welcome back to the PCA NextGen Podcast. Man, have we got a guest for you. I am so excited to talk to Danny Kwon, the GOAT, the unicorn of experience. We're so thankful to have you with us today, Danny. Thanks for joining us.
Wow, it's good to be here, Matt and Mickey.
And as always, the venerable Mikey Puckett.
Oh yeah, Mikey. Yeah.
With the best background any podcaster could hope for.
Right.
Was that music Depeche Mode? It sounded like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's Depeche Mode-esque. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're old enough to know what Depeche Mode is.
I was gonna say, what is that?
Yeah. That's right. You have to be old like us.
Yeah. Oh man. Any good stories from last night, Mikey? How was youth group last night?
So last night I wasn't there. We did a worship night though, and I heard great things. Kids apparently said that they wanted to come know Jesus last night. So you can't complain about that. So usually we do a worship night once a semester, and it's kind of like an invitation, like if you kind of what the Edge does. You guys kind of know how that is. It's like, are you ready? Like it's kind of personal with a card, ready, not ready, already kind of thing. And so there were some kids that said that they were ready to receive Jesus. So we'll follow up with them and talk with them. There's some kids that said most of them said already, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then not ready. There was one kid who said they said they were not ready because they don't feel like they are worthy. So that will be a good conversation.
That's a great opportunity.
So I think they're more actually ready than they think they are.
Crazy people don't worry if they're crazy. Yeah, absolutely.
So that will be fun. So nothing silly, of course. I don't have anything silly. I'm sure there was stuff. I wasn't there for it. I just got reports from it this morning. So
I was, that's fantastic. And actually, I think it would be great, not today, but it would be great to have a conversation because I think our tradition struggles with creating opportunities for that milestone for you to acknowledge your commitment to Christ other than like maybe church membership.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I get it because I, as a sixth grader, I went to the camp that was not our tradition. That was like giving the fiery talk at the campfire on the last night and throwing things into the fire to make it burst at the right moment. You know what I mean? Like the manipulative, emotional, and the dramatic and the repetitive constantly coming forward and having a new conversion experience every year at camp. I think we're a little too far on the other end of the spectrum. We don't give kids that Ebenezer. We don't build the rocks.
Right.
For them to mark that kind of clarity that they experience and those opportunities because we're afraid to be emotionally manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a conversation for another time. My story from last night was far less moving.
What's your story?
I shouldn't have asked Mikey to start. We had several kids come to Jesus. Well, we killed somebody last night.
What?
We played. The kids walked in and there was a chalk outline on the floor with caution tape around it. And we played live action human Clue.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which was really fun. And our middle school director orchestrated the whole thing. And he made his infant daughter one of the suspects, which was hilarious. And then he put it's such a great idea. He put leaders all over the place. And we had an envelope with the cards, just like the game. And kids would run to us and ask us for a clue about a person, a room, or the murder weapon. And then we gave them a challenge based on what question they were at. So I had 3 challenges in my pocket. If you came and asked for a person, you had to play paper. You had to make a basket. You had to make a free throw. If it was a place, you had to beat me at paper, rock, scissors. And then if it was a murder weapon, you had to do push-ups. And then then I would show them, hey, this is not the room. This is not the murderer. This is not the murder weapon. And then they would run around to all the other leaders and get the clues and then make an accusation. And it went great. He did such a good job of building this game and, making it live action and adapting it to our situation. Super, super simple, super fun. One of the other leaders' challenges was that the kids had to run up to me at my station and throw a beanbag burrito at me and yell, "My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die." I was not required to be a part of this interaction other than just be the human target. So I'm literally talking to other kids and getting pelted with beanbag burritos and yelled at by the Princess Bride. So that seems like a pretty normal youth group night to me. I don't know. Is that wrong?
I mean, to me, but we do things a little different here at Seven Rivers. I feel like sometimes the kind of people that kind of end up in these circles.
You have some horrifying stories. You have some horrifying body fluid stories.
Definitely some trauma has occurred.
What a perfect transition about what we're going to talk about today, because Danny, you have a celebrated career. You have a unique experience in youth ministry. Can you tell us a little bit of kind of how you came to know Christ? How did you get in ministry? Where did you end up? And what's that kind of unique thing about your situation?
Yeah. So, first of all, I do want to let you guys know I am still a youth ministry volunteer. I was a youth pastor for 29 years at one church, and I'm still alive. So if you're a young youth pastor, there's longevity possible through the grace of God. But and now I still volunteer as a youth worker. A mentor of mine, I always seen him continue as a volunteer, even though he wasn't a youth pastor. But it's definitely different. I think it's definitely a lot easier not being the actual youth pastor, but it's still, enjoyable and hard in its own ways. But I came to faith at 13 years old at a Christian summer camp. That's why, as a youth pastor, I believe in summer camps and mission trips and
Amen.
These experiential things that grow our faith. And then went to seminary after college. And yeah, I was a youth pastor at one church for 29 years. There's nothing magical, or people say wow, or dinosaur or whatever. Like they don't exist. But it's just life happens, and year by year, and if you stay 3 years, 5 years, whatever, I just want to encourage everyone. Youth ministry is awesome, and it's hard. And I do say the hardest thing I've ever done is raise my own teenagers. And with that, I tell parents of teenagers, it's really easy for me to love your teenagers, but I know it's hard for you to love your own teenagers. They come and they share. And I think one of the benefits of growing a little older in youth ministry is, being able to have, not that you can't do it when you're young, but, with being a little older, you can have some relationships with parents that, they can relate to you a little bit more. But I do want to encourage you all. Youth ministry is not easy. When I was younger, and I always say, there's not a day that went by that I didn't want to quit. So I loved it, but it was hard. And for 29 years, I loved it, and it was hard. And
You know what's interesting about that, Danny? You
Yeah.
make a really good point. And
Yeah.
people ask about longevity and perseverance. And I found there were lots of days that I wanted to quit,
Yeah.
but there weren't any mornings when I wanted to quit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I would have a day where I was like, I'm done, but I would if I could just get back to bed.
Yeah.
I would find that the next morning I would suit up without even thinking about it, and I was ready to go again. And that was always became like a benchmark. I'm like, if I get up and I don't want to go, that's when I know I'm done.
Or if you don't get up, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Then you know you're done.
No. That's promotion. Then you've been relieved of duty. You didn't quit. You're done. That's it. You win. You get to go
promotion,
home. Yeah, that's a promotion.
But I did talk about that too a little bit, Matt. That in one of the first episodes of this podcast, that every day when I went to sleep, when I wanted to quit, just letting myself fall asleep to finding my identity and hope in Christ, and then just waking up the next day and finding that peace and solace in that. But there was a lot of rough days too, so that's part of the journey. But even though we love it too, and the stories you guys told earlier, great, we love it too.
Yeah, well, if it was easy, anybody would do it, right?
Yeah.
And so, what was your church?
My church was called. It was a Korean immigrant church. So parents were Korean speaking, but the kids were basically just Americanized, but mostly Korean American kids. It's called Youngsang Eternal Life Church outside Philadelphia. Pretty large youth group that grew over the years, I think, with longevity. Not that size matters, but it was a pretty large ministry that grew from like 15 to about 250. I think that's the benefit of staying and growing with the staff, and loved it. Retreats, mission trips, small groups, Sunday night, Wednesday night, all the stuff that we do, the games that you guys are talking about. Loved it. And, it was just when when it was just time after 29 years, and people always ask, you should have stayed 30. That sounds so
round it out.
Glorious. But I always tell that was, it could have been my plan, but God had a better plan. And
well, listen, and we know this guy, we share this guy in common, right? Like you're Cal Ripken. He skipped the day to break his record on purpose, right? Like it's not about you, it's about the game. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I married into this kind of family. I'm curious, are you cursed with being an Eagles fan?
I am a season ticket holder.
Oh my goodness.
But I only go to about 3 games a year because of church, of course, for all those years. Right. And even now as a volunteer, I really try to not to miss Sundays. I'm not trying to sound holy or righteous because I love the Eagles, season ticket holder, but I usually go to Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night games, and the rest of the games my brother will go to with his wife, but the other games will I'll go to. He'll let me go to the Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night games, and but I love the Eagles. Love football. Yeah, so
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm cursed with being a Bears fan. So
okay, yeah. I mean, you guys had a good year.
Yeah, no, we had an incredible year. But I think those of us that love certain teams understand unconditional love better than others.
Yeah. We had 2 Super Bowl wins in the last, like 9 years. So, we're finally satisfied. So, but not a good Eagles fan is never happy.
No. Well, that's my joke about my father. My in-laws grew up in Philly, and he's a diehard Eagles fan. But I'm like, are you though? Because you don't like the Eagles more than most people don't like the Eagles.
No, yeah. We're never happy. Always pessimistically optimistic or optimistically pessimistic, and that's just the nature of being a fan. Yeah.
So you have this incredible experience of being at one place for a very long period of time. But you also were gifted with an incredibly talented wife.
Yeah.
As well. Tell us a little bit about her career and her involvement in your ministry and how she helped you evolve over the years.
Yeah. So those of us who are married in ministry, your spouse can have different roles. Doesn't have to be, like coming every Sunday and being, again, it can vary. So
And
my wife,
also, your
yeah,
church didn't hire two people.
but they kind of thought of it as 2 for 1, of course.
They
That's
often do. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and there was, of course, a lot of expectations for the pastor's wife, and we tried to kind of fight against those. And my wife did a lot, but not visibly a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she loved cooking for the youth group. She's a PK, pastor's kid, so she's used to growing up in ministry. But that's not everybody's wife. I
Right.
just want our listeners to understand that, but she did a lot at home, hosting and cooking and things that people didn't see, where sometimes the church wants her visible. But she was also a homemaker for first 6 years of our kids. We had 3 boys in 4 years. It was crazy. And she raised the kids, and then she went back into Christian counseling and psychologist. She was trained in both, and but she was also a youth group volunteer, and so she was, I have to say, she was my best volunteer. She did small groups and walked with me, and I always say, when it came to mental health, because both of you know that it's, I call it like an epidemic we
Mm-hmm.
see in
Mm-hmm.
teenagers now. And having a biblical counselor and psychologist next to me, I could just ask her every question I wanted to. I could ask her, what should I do? I could ask her to do a consult for a parent, just a 30-minute church meeting with them and give them some advice. But it was really great to have that partnership with her in church and in ministry. And I know not everybody does, but it was great to have that with my wife by my side.
And that's, it's, you are someone that is on the PCA's Committee for Discipleship Ministries permanent committee.
Mm-hmm.
And have been for a long time. So you are who we report to. You were on this team for a long time. You teach the first unit of the certification, which, if you don't know, go check out our certification.
It's great. It's great.
Really, my assistant in Miami was in the first class, and she loved your unit. She loved the whole experience. You've played this role, and you've been on the podcast before.
Yeah.
But we actually wanted to talk to you today because you had this incredible resource of your wife and her technical skills and professional experience. But that is not, a lot of us don't have access to that.
Yeah.
And don't have that resource. And so out of this incredible commitment to youth ministry and experience in youth ministry and your wife's incredible gifts and talents, you guys worked together and wrote this, which I probably am doing a terrible job of showing, right? this Teenagers and Mental Health, a manual for parents, pastors, and youth leaders. So before we get into this, what was it like writing that with your wife? Working
So, first of all, my wife, she's really diligent, faithful. She's also a professor in counseling, psychology, but she doesn't like to put herself necessarily out there. Although she teaches and lectures, and she's taught at Westminster and Lehigh. But so I've written a couple books before, but I really wanted to do this with her because it came out of kind of, again, Mikey and Matt, we know mental health in teenagers is, again, I just call it an epidemic. People were asking me and my wife what we do at our church. And then also, we experienced it on a personal basis. In the book, we talk about our middle school son who had a severe mental health issue. And, so we experienced as parents too. And so we kind of wanted to serve. Nobody makes money writing books unless you're like, you know, like, you know, you know, Rick Warren or something like that, or Joel Osteen. I just saw a clip
Oh my goodness.
on something about him making money in books. But you write it for the glory of God. You write it because it's your passion. You want to serve others. And so, but the funny thing is, my wife didn't want to put herself out there. She likes doing her counseling.
Yeah.
But she's a dog lover. I'm not a dog lover. We had 4 dogs over the years. They all got old and died.
Sure, Danny. Sure, they died. Yeah. Okay.
And so I told her I would get her another dog if she wrote a book with me. And I did get her another dog once we finished the first draft of the book.
Oh yeah, you held out. We got to get something in hand before I get another dog in this house.
And she's a dog lover, and so it's kind of like a story that we share, in a funny way about how I got her to write. But she really wanted to write it, and again, this combination of youth pastor and counselor, psychologist, kind of. It's kind of like what we did as we shared with other youth pastors over the years. And we just wanted to put it out as a resource for churches, youth leaders, and parents, because we experienced it on all 3 levels, and even for youth leaders on how to work with parents and how to work with teenagers, and, for parents to help their own teenagers too. And so it was just a labor of love from our heart,
and it shows in the book.
Can
I tell you what I love and hate about the book?
Sure.
Okay. Again, we want to encourage people and give them a vision of longevity in this ministry, and that's why we love talking to vets, and that's why we as vets do this. But man, you open up the book, you write out of anybody that's done this for a long time has regrets.
Yeah.
And we evolve as leaders. And there was things I read in the book that just made me cringe about mistakes that I made. That's what I mean by what I hated about the book. But I loved your vulnerability in that. And there is a genuine a genuine desire to minister to people and to help. And sometimes we step into things that are beyond our capacity, especially the younger that we are.
Yeah.
You don't get training in this in seminary.
Yeah.
You don't get training in this at Bible college, where you get your youth ministry degree.
Yeah.
There's lots of holes in seminary training that don't prepare you for everything you do as a pastor in the church and vice, in youth ministry, etc. And so I loved that you're like, hey, here's what I would have said before.
Yeah.
Well-intentioned, not trying to minimize, but also not understanding what we were dealing with and how that's evolved.
Yeah.
Because that's what we all need to do that. And there's also a need for the church, big C, to evolve. And you talk a lot about, not disproportionate, but you talk about the intersection of faith and mental health and help draw lines of when is this adolescent behavior? When is this mental health?
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of great words that you use. So if someone's trying to ascertain, is this a spiritual problem? Is this a mental health issue? Is this an adolescent behavior? What are some of the words that you used? in the book to gauge those things?
Well, so just generally, the way we describe the book is gospel hope.
Yeah.
There's truth in the gospel, and even within mental health, understanding it as, because of brokenness and sin. Just that perspective, I think, is important because, like, even with my own son, I wrote about it in the book. Like, I sometimes thought, "Hey, just suck it up. What's wrong with you?" And a lot of questions I get from youth workers is, "Are kids legitimately struggling with mental health?" And as a youth pastor, I am not trained,
Right.
but I
Right.
think it's a great opportunity to grow in relational discipleship, um, offer gospel hope to them, offer, a lot of them want to have conversations about, am I defective? Am I wrong? Am I sinful? And, so giving them that kind of gospel hope, I think, is really important. And then there's aspects of, so gospel hope and practical guidance. We have some exercises that parents or youth workers or youth leaders can do, some things you can do in your church, for parents and for teenagers, like within your youth group. We talked about, our midweek meetings, some things we can do, um, even offering, we I'm sure as PCA people, we believe in expository teaching and good Bible study, but, sometimes we can do some topical things on anxiety and stress and social media and things like that. And so there's, again, that double aspect of gospel hope, but practical guidance that we really want to narrow in on through the book. And those two angles are kind of where we tried to center the book. And again, as a youth worker who is not a mental health professional, um, but always having my wife by my side, we tried to express that to the readers and to fellow church in the church.
No, I think the book does a great job by starting out with the gospel
Yeah,
and embracing. I'm probably going to use this term poorly, but clinical mental health
yeah,
and the distinction between the two, and
yeah,
that um as someone that struggled with self harm, I'm obviously very tuned into that. Like that was my struggle as a teenager before coming to faith, and there's days everybody wants to die.
yeah,
And there's a big difference between having self-harm issues and I was just wanting to crawl into a hole and die.
yeah,
We get embarrassed, stuff happens, we feel awful. But again, like we go to bed and we're okay the next day.
yeah,
Right. So there's like ideas of severity and duration.
yeah,
Right. I think we're two of the ideas communicated in the book. Like, is this today? Is this is this kid having a problem today, or
yeah,
is this kid having a problem for
yeah,
weeks?
yeah, yeah.
You know?
And on that, like Matt, like we talk about, like when you talked about spiritual, mental, or some of these distinctions, we talk about noticing changes in teenagers, helping parents notice changes in teenagers, and duration, and combination of things like maybe they stop talking to their friends,
Yeah.
maybe they're on social media a lot. It's not just one factor, but as youth pastors in churches, we can walk alongside parents and their teenager to help navigate and decipher. And although we're not mental health professionals, we can be a team with parents and even the teenager in their mental health struggle. And I like using the three terms that I talked about in the book, being a first responder, a refuge, or a lighthouse. I could talk about all three, but like first responder being the first on the scene, maybe we're not trained for long-term help,
Mm-hmm.
but we can guide and direct parents and teenagers in the right direction. And we could offer spiritual counsel and help because we're spiritually trained. And then we could hand it off to the right mental health professional. And even that, in the book, I kind of spearheaded this chapter because I didn't know this, but there are so many views on mental health and faith and Christian counseling versus integrationist versus what is just mental health that is non-Christian, and how does one consider the differences and recommend resources to parents and teenagers, and school psychologists that can be helpful. And so, some of those things, again, the first responder, lighthouse, and refuge, I think are good terms to kind of be initial helps and creating that environment in our youth group for students and parents.
What are Danny, what are ways that you would recommend working with parents who take I don't know if the term is over spiritualization
Yeah,
of mental health, where it's really just a you in a relationship with Jesus problem. Of course, at the
yeah,
end of the day, we can punt always to that. That hey, like this is part of the garden of the fall,
yeah,
but then that aren't willing to get their kids into mental health,
yeah,
or see a counselor or a professional because it's a lack of faith. Like,
yeah.
how do we navigate some of those scenarios with parents where maybe there's just this stereotype culturally that they're like, to go send my kid to a counselor is really just a signal that I don't trust that Jesus
Yeah, well,
take care of my kid.
we've definitely had a lot of those people, especially in the Korean American context, because counseling is also in our shame based culture kind of looked down upon, and even the idea of taking medication
Mm-hmm.
is kind of taboo, was taboo in a lot of Korean context too. And I think that idea that being a lighthouse, again, we talk about it in the book, but just more of a symbolic terminology of a refuge, a lighthouse, and a first responder. I think it's um, always important just to communicate to the parents that you are available for guidance, you are available when they need help. Um, you're the first responder, being first on the scene, and that just to continually be in touch with them, offering them, your thoughts and opinions on how you might see, like, maybe they don't want to see a counselor, but school psychologist or something like that. But I think until they are ready, you can't force them into seeing
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
counselor. But I think it is important to continue to be available, like let them know as far as equipping and resourcing. Like, hey, we're talking about youth group this week about anxiety
Mm-hmm.
or stress or social media addiction, and they know that it's part of your youth group um, talks and curriculum, and what your kind of talk, what it's part of the life of teenagers now. And Monica always says this, that the importance of being available is like, Mikey, when you say some parents don't want to consider it, we found that when we are open about it, and again, say we're a refuge or a lighthouse, that when there is a glitch in the
Mm-hmm.
life that becomes more serious, very often, because we've created that atmosphere, that, and they know they can reach out, that they do reach out.
Yeah.
And in our youth group, Matt knows, we wrote about this, that in the first 20 years at my church, probably we have a mental health clinic right near our church, probably helped parents admit 5 students.
Yeah.
But in the last 9 years, we've probably taken 40 students. And this is in an Asian American context where counseling is viewed as shameful,
Mhm.
but just them knowing that we are a refuge, a lighthouse, a first responder, and we're always available to them, that when like something like schizophrenia or
Yeah. Yeah.
or body image issues, happen, you know, when it gets to that serious point, you know, Mikey, because we've been talking and being available to them, we found that most parents, almost all of them, hey, oh, I can turn to my youth pastor. I can
Yeah.
turn to my church. And so I think it's a matter of just creating that environment, and hopefully and prayerfully they will, we don't want bad things to happen, but I think it helps to create that environment that they will eventually turn to you.
Yeah. I was kind of wondering too, like, have you seen? One of my best friends is a counselor. He does a lot with kids, students and kids. But has there been one of the things that he has found it hard? He doesn't do counseling, and he's a Christian, but doesn't do it in a Christian context.
Yeah.
He's found that what a lot of these kids need is community
Yeah.
and connection,
Yeah.
and he can't offer them it as a counselor, in the sense of like, he's the one person once a month for 1 hour that
Right.
actually hears their life in person, like in
Yeah.
a physical body presence.
Yeah.
And what he wants to do all the time is say, hey, here's a local church. You can go to their youth group, and they have these things called small groups
Yeah.
where you can talk
Yeah.
about stuff every single week. And the pastor will text you the next day and say, how's it going?
Yeah.
How can I be praying for you? How can I meet your needs? And so he's found it rather difficult doing counseling. Now, I think eventually he will go into the Christian world, but for now, to get licensed and stuff like that, he's from a Christian seminary, but he's working right now on getting his license. But
Yeah.
can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, we talk about this in the book too, but I think especially with parents, when you create with their teenager that openness, you know, so a lot of counselors, as long as all the release forms are signed, there's a thing called ROI, not return on investment, which I thought it was, but release of information, and they can work with a pastor, somebody at the church, as long as the consent forms are signed, and you know we can partner together. I've worked with a lot of school psychologists, and with parents, release of information to partner together, and you know, you know, find ways we can partner with the mental health professional, with the church, exchange of information, you know, get the kid, the counselor will suggest to get the kid involved in the youth group and community. And we also talk about if even the youth pastor can talk to the parents and say, hey, we'd like to get them involved in small group and have like one-on-one peer relationships, or the youth pastor can find, like, we had a kid who had real severe anxiety, and when he came up from middle school, he cried at every youth group meeting for the first like 6 months. And we asked the parents about it discreetly, and they shared, and we had a kind of a peer-to-peer relationship thing, and when they cried, we had a student, we told the parents we're going to have a student kind of go walk with him out in the hallway. And so you're right, Mikey, there's so many ways that youth workers, with the permission, I think it's important that you work with the parent and teenager to get that permission. But that community is such a powerful way to continue to help the student spiritually and with their mental health without being like a professional counseling. And so, yeah, I think the youth group community, and especially with, we know, post COVID or with social media, students, they don't know, but community is so important now.
I joked about not liking remembering my mistakes
Yeah.
in the book. But there was actually a lot of validation that I experienced too. And I really wish I had this book 30 years ago.
Hmm.
And I think we can't recommend it enough. Like everyone, this should be just standard issue. And maybe we need to make this a unit in the certification, to be honest.
Yeah.
It might need to be its own unit. But a couple things, and this is going to be a little long-winded probably. I'm a very intuitive person. I've got 30 years of experience, but I couldn't put it all down in a book.
Yeah.
And so I'm super thankful for that, because like you articulated some things that I've experienced, and I've had interesting challenges with schizophrenia, neurodivergence.
Yeah.
I've walked through some really tough things with some kids and some families. But what I love about the book is that what you actually articulate is this great, the synthesis between gospel hope, relational ministry, and I'm going to use the term poorly, like clinical mental health issues. And there is a challenge with that in the church. We don't, like, whether it's shame-based or tradition or ignorance, like that mental health is something that we don't like to deal with.
Yeah.
But when I look back on some of those experiences through the lens of what you've written, it's actually quite encouraging, because we have 2 out of the 3 puzzles.
Yeah.
2 out of the 3 puzzle pieces. We have the gospel hope, and we like what you were saying, Mikey, is like we can be the community and create the place that the student can be who they are. I've got students in the past that were so crippled with anxiety and social awkwardness and inability to interact with other people, but loved coming to youth group. And they literally would come to youth group every week and not do anything and stand on the sidelines. And, it's interesting, because there are times where you're like, you push. There's times to push.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, you know what? That's enough. Come on. You're playing the game.
Yeah.
But there's also time, like, you're just being a punk right now. Like, I don't like this game. Get in the game. I don't care. But then there's that person that, like, it was a huge battle for them to walk in the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they walked in the door, and you made it okay for them to not play the game.
Yeah.
And they come back every week.
Yeah.
And they come back every week, and they're hearing the gospel, and they're building relationships to their extent.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've been blessed the most with, and this is before we knew the term neurodivergence, was some of the kids that I had that were the most neurodivergent or challenging. I don't know if that qualifies as mental health. That's not necessarily what we're talking about. But when you create a place where the students in your youth ministry adapt to those kids, and evolve around those kids, those kids end up having a tremendous ministry to your youth group.
Yeah.
And growing and developing better human beings because they've done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of my all-time favorite stories, and I'm going to have to stop and change the names to protect the innocent, but we had a student that was severely autistic,
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in the youth group knew it. Kid made noises, did all kinds of weird things.
Yep.
Nobody flinched.
Yep.
And everybody, we love this kid, and he's such a great kid. And it got to the point where, like, I had the president of Covenant College come speak to my kids.
Mm.
And it didn't even occur to me to tell him about this kid.
Yeah.
Because why would I? As a guest speaker, I'd be like, hey, listen, there's going to be somebody that makes a lot of noises and moves around. I should have said that, but I didn't think about it. And I sat down, and it occurred to me, and he was great. He didn't flinch, but like, that kid was just a part of our group.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just what we did every night. It didn't even occur to me to tell him.
Yeah. I go ahead, Matt. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
No, I think you're right. That's so many. It's not just mental health, but just, kids who are lonely, or we had an autistic kid too. And I just ran into his mother like 6 months ago, and I kind of forgot about him, but she's like, oh, he's living on his own, doing really well now, as a 28-year-old. But when he was in youth group, he was, making those sounds and noises and during the message and talk. But we helped the youth group to love him and accept him and let him make the noises. And that's good for the whole youth group.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Danny, I can't thank you enough for you articulating your experience and your wife's experience and your guys' wisdom into something that any of us, it's very readable. It's very practical. It's very, it synthesizes all of those things.
Yeah.
It's not a mental health only. It's not a gospel spiritual only. And it's relationally driven, which I would expect nothing less from you, but it's fantastic.
Thank you.
And especially, thank you so much for the time today.
Yeah.
But before we go, like, not specifically about this, but you are helping develop curriculum with Rooted, which we love. We're big Rooted fans. Like you said, you're still a volunteer. You're still on the permanent discipleship committee. You're guiding and directing this on a big level. I mean, a broad level, I would say. Just if you could encourage youth leaders at any kind of stage, what would be your final shot to encourage anybody listening today?
Oh man, it's like I said earlier, Mikey and Matt, I just acknowledging that we love our calling, but it can be really hard too. And, that's just a reality of, like, I tell people, I shouldn't say this publicly, but I will. Like, please know I put in my time at one church in youth ministry. So hopefully I can say this, but I kind of joke around and I say, I miss ministry, but I don't miss the church. like all the politics,
the staff,
all the navigating.
Yeah.
Parents and, the session and all that stuff. But I did it because it's part of ministry. And, part of dealing with difficult parents and part of dealing with sessions not approving your budget, or, saying that
you said you were a volunteer now, and I was like, what's it like only doing what you want to do?
It's really like, hey, I'm going to do this, and I'm driving the youth pastor crazy, and, hey, I'm going to buy this for the youth group. He's like, oh, you can't, and I'm going to take the kids for ice cream. Oh, you can't, but it's all comes with our love for our calling and our teenagers. And, I just want to encourage youth workers that, we really love and feel called to it. And so that you would really hold on to that. And the other parts are part of loving our ministry.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
It's all comes with the territory. And I know Mikey and Matt can tell battle wounds and scars and all that too. And, you'll look back on it fondly too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're well earned. They're
Yeah.
you're proud of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I'm sorry. It doesn't seem satisfying, but I just want to.
No, that's fantastic. It
Yeah.
is. That's you're articulating again, like what we all feel,
Yeah.
it's it's a love-based thing, it's, can't believe that Christ loves me. And I want everybody else to know that. And it's my privilege to be able to focus on this segment of the population, like this unique time in people's lives. Like, why have we done it so long?
Yeah.
Because I think we're at the heart of it. We know what the value of it is and want other people to experience it. The only people I like as much as I like students is people that minister to students.
Yeah. And the other thing, I really hold on to the truth, 1 Corinthians 3, I planted, Apollos watered, but God gives the growth. And,
Yes.
And it might not be even your 6-7 years of youth group. And my motto in ecclesiology of youth group was the most important time of youth group is after they leave youth group. And so really that God gives the growth. I really held on to that verse.
Yeah, we are definitely a very short period of the growth process of fertilizing and planting, and we often don't get to see, but sometimes we're blessed and we get to see, and we're surprised at who grew and who didn't grow.
Yeah.
There was one of my great joys was watching a kid who I thought wasn't paying a whole lot of attention and ended up growing to be an incredible Christian woman who's the principal of a Christian school. Like, not that that's the goal, but you're like, oh, wow, you really grew and are planting for other people, It's always awesome.
Yeah.
Mikey, any last thoughts or words before we go?
No, just thank you, Danny. And obviously, thank you to Rooted for all that you guys have been doing and being faithful to the gospel mission of getting the good news out, and just the curriculum as one who's used it before, just what a gift. So really thankful, Danny.
Thank you, Mikey.
Mikey, would you close us in prayer?
Yeah, let me pray.
Awesome. Thanks.
Father, thank you for this time together. Thank you for CDM and the opportunity to equip and encourage and connect people to people and people to resources. And thank you for Danny and for his faithfulness to us, and for planting these seeds and now getting a chance over 29 years to see the fruit, but also just the seed of CDM and this podcast and certificate and conference. He was part of the beginnings. So God, I give you great thanks for the work he's done, making the PCA beautiful, making youth ministry beautiful, and working towards the end. Father, we love you, and we need you. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thank you so much, brother. Great to hang out with you.
Thanks Danny.
All right. God bless you guys. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. God bless you guys. Bye.